Hello and welcome back to Spincast. Today we're diving back into the world of collegiate esports. Joining me today is Cole Prescott. He is the director of esports at Northwestern College in Orange City, Iowa. So without further ado, Cole, go ahead, introduce yourself. Give us a little bit of background of your past in esports and how that path took you to your current position as the director at Northwestern.
For sure. Well, yeah, I'm, like Kyle said, Cole Prescott, director of esports, Northwestern College. My journey started out kind of unexpectedly in the collegiate esports scene. I was a student at the college when our program started in February of 2019. It started as a competitive club, and I was just a student interested in participating. So tried out for one of the teams, made it, participated during my time there. And as I looked to graduate, they were looking to move the program from club status to varsity sports status, and they needed someone who was familiar with the world of esports and who also was familiar with the college to head up and lead the program. And I was lucky enough to fit both of those requirements. So I ended up taking over leadership of the program last year, led the program part-time for a whole year, and then came on full-time this past August here to be the director of the esports program.
Awesome. It's fantastic to hear that pathway. Super excited, obviously, for you as your program continues to grow. But going into your program a little more specifically, tell me, a little more about your program, from what games you competed in and have teams in, and then also what competitions and leagues do y'all compete in as well?
For sure. So we have three teams. We compete in Overwatch, League of Legends, and Rocket League. Those are the three titles that we've competed in. We have 24 players across those three teams. Our main avenue of competition thus far has been competing in an organization called GG Leagues. They run a number of competitions in all three of those titles now. They started off as a League of Legends org, and they've expanded. So we've competed in that. We're planning on competing in Play Versus this upcoming spring as well in their new Overwatch League and in their Rocket League tournaments as well. So that's what we've done so far competitively wise. Our Overwatch team actually won the championship in the GG Leagues division this fall. So we were excited for that with our first semester of being full varsity to bring home our first trophy. So we've had a lot of fun early success, and we're excited to build on the momentum heading into the spring.
Awesome.
And we've also competed in UCEA, the Unified Collegiate Esports Association. Our Rocket League team finished sixth, I think, out of 11 or 12 in that. So we were happy with their first semester performance, and they'll be doing that again in the spring as well, looking to move up the rankings.
Awesome. Sounds great. Obviously having that early success with the newer program is obviously good all around, to say the least.
For sure.
Looking at more specifically, take me through a typical practice day, right? So is there anything that you'd like to focus on more than others? Because a lot of the questions I get from high school players is like, hey, what does practice look like at the college level? What are the expectations, so on and so forth. So take me through what a typical practice day looks like.
Yeah, so I'll probably use Overwatch as an example.
Sure.
So we usually practice for 2.5 hours on an afternoon for Overwatch. The day starts first half hour. I have all my players do a VOD review, self-review of their own gameplay from the previous day, kind of get, figure out what they need to be fixing, self-reflection and learning. And then they'll do their warm-ups, warming up usually in free-for-all, or if they're a tank player, they'll do more VOD review. So that's kind of the first 30 minutes of our day. And then the later 2 hours, we do a couple different things. Either we'll scrimmage another team, for a 2-hour scrim block, or if we have enough players that day for ourselves, we'll maybe bring in a few ringers from the outside. We'll do inter squad scrimmages if we want to practice, a specific map or a specific strategy over and over that, another school maybe isn't interested in running one map for 2 hours, but that's something we want to do. We'll do that. Or sometimes we'll have full-on VOD review days where we get the whole team in a room and kind of go over footage from one of our previous matches. Or we'll have kind of concept days, right, where it'll be more of a presentation of covering a specific strategy or concept from a kind of big picture view rather than practicing it in game, going, hey, we as a team don't understand this concept well enough, so we need to talk it over, kind of dissect it, digest it, and break it down into smaller pieces and really, really dive deep into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the focus on that VOD review because I think a lot of people skip that or just don't know it exists. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, you get better, you just play. And it's like, no, 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 no. It's you got to watch the film and figure out, more specifically for really big
Hmm.
matchups, what the other team likes to do and how to counter that.
For
Or
sure.
watch your own past gameplay and be like, hey, this is what we've been doing, poorly. How do we fix that? Right.
Yeah, I
So,
always tell my players there's a big difference between practice and play. One
exactly.
makes you better, one is just fun, you know.
Yeah.
There's a
Exactly.
big difference there.
Yeah, I always say that, whenever you get on to get better, make sure you have a plan, right? And
Hmm.
that sounds like the way you do, right? There's
For
nothing
sure.
wrong with getting on and loading up Cold War and just,
Right.
playing with some of your friends, right? But that's just playing, right?
Right.
Practicing, you need a plan of what am I doing to get better in my gameplay, right? Am I working
Yeah.
on my individual mechanics? Am I working on communications, a particular strategy, so on and so forth, right?
Hmm.
So totally agree on you with all of that. But now my next question is kind of more looking towards the future. What's the plan for Northwestern, right? Do you want to expand into more games, more competitions? What does that future over the next year or two look like as both collegiate esports and your own program continues to expand rapidly?
For sure, for sure. Right now, our immediate focus is kind of building up the three teams that we have, right?
Mhm.
So we just finished our first semester as a varsity program, as I mentioned. So we're kind of still in a transition phase from,
Mhm.
okay, we started over here as a club program and we want to move along this line to really reach what I would call genuine varsity status, right? Where
Mhm.
our facilities are fully equipped, our rosters are a little bit higher tier. They have a little more caliber behind
Cool.
themselves, right? There were players recruited to come and compete for the school. So
Mhm.
that's our immediate, I would say, 2-year goal, kind of
Yeah.
getting in those cohorts of recruits and kind of really building a firm foundation with doing those titles well. And
Yeah.
then mixed in with that, we're looking at kind of expanding our space this upcoming summer, or the space available to us. We
Mhm.
currently have an arena with 14 PCs outfitted, and we're looking to, take over a little more space and get some more equipment down there for our existing and future players. So that's something we're excited for.
Yeah.
So those are kind of our short-term goals. Yeah. And then as
Awesome.
far as additional titles go, we've toyed with some ideas. We haven't settled on anything yet. We want to make sure we're really solid with what we're doing right now, and then we'll build on that foundation.
Awesome. Awesome. Great to hear all positive things there, to say the least. And I like that you're focusing on expanding what you have now, right? I've seen some programs expand too fast and they get a little too thin, right?
Hmm.
Especially, the common theme in collegiate esports right now is that you only have, one or two, maybe if you're lucky, three coaches
Yeah.
that can really help, right? And rather in traditional sports, you have an army of coaches per team, right?
Right.
Or per sport, which a
Yeah.
sport, is a game, right? Football
Right.
is like League of
Exactly.
Legends, right? You don't need an esports coach. You need a League of Legends coach, a Rocket League coach, an Overwatch coach, and then an esports director / coordinator, right?
Yep.
And that's eventually collegiate esports will get there, but it's so new that it's no one's fault.
One day we hope.
Exactly. One day we won't all be doing the job of 12 different people.
Exactly.
But yeah, one thing you keep mentioning that I want to bring up more specifically is the transition from a club to a varsity, right? And that's a
Sure.
big step. But take me through kind of, for you at least, what varsity kind of provides from that support from the university that being a club doesn't quite get.
Yeah. Yeah. The two main things that are probably most obvious, funding and staffing, right?
Mhm.
So when the program was a competitive club, well, it only had we had 7 computers when it started, right? And,
Sure.
day one, we went from 0 to essentially 20 some people. So
Mhm.
20 people sharing 7 computers, scheduling gets pretty tough. Last
Yeah.
year, each team practiced 2 days a week. So
Mhm.
it was pretty sparse as far as the schedule. So, even the student commitment or what was required of them, right? I looked at kind of as a club version, right? 2 days a week. What other varsity program on campus practices 2 days a week? Everybody's out there 5 days a week, to become the best they can at their field of competition. So, time, money, equipment, all those things. We've made great strides in all three. And then staffing, of course, I was part-time last year, full-time this year to lead and direct the program.
Yeah.
So for us to be able to, and early on in the semester had multiple conversations with some of my players, some of my captains going, man, it's so great that we get to be here every day now. Like we practice 5 days a week. We can actually build on that. Like it's pretty hard to make much strides and improvement when you only get your team together twice a week.
Yeah.
Twice a week for 2 hours each, 4 hours versus 12 to 15 hours a week. Like, we had so much growth and progress this semester, showing up 5 days a week, getting ready to grind, improve, strategize. And it was really a cool thing to see, even as I feel like we're still in that transition phase, like the difference between last year and this year has just been tremendous.
Absolutely. Totally agreeing that, more time just gives you more opportunity at the end of the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's so important, of having that dedicated time, dedicated space, and so on and so forth for that continued growth. Because obviously that's what everyone wants to see, is more growth, more success. That's kind of that's always the mission, right? But moving on to my next question is, talk me through your current recruiting process, right? Obviously just went varsity, looking probably more than likely looking to bring on more recruits as seniors graduate and to
Yep.
more games eventually as well. So, Collegiate Esports still very new, but take me through your recruiting process and what that entails.
Yeah. So for me, right, there's, esports directors the world on over bemoan the fact that esports is so decentralized, right?
Yep.
There's not just one place we can go to find all those recruits out there. So I do a lot of searching and recruiting in a lot of different avenues, dozens of Discord servers that I'm in, talking with recruits, different high school servers, different collaborative groups like yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There's the Stay Plugged In competitions, things like that. There are some more traditional recruiting websites that a lot of the traditional sports have used for years, and they've started to integrate esports into them. Even just there's various high school state organizations, right? You have your, let's say Iowa High School Esports Association, that has its list of member institutions. So I go down that list and contact the leaders of those programs and reach out to them and, see if they've got seniors and juniors who are interested in collegiate esport opportunities. So there's a myriad of different ways that I go about recruiting. It's a lot of emails, a lot of Discord messages, a lot of Discord posts, a lot of phone calls. That's kind of the process.
Yeah, that's why we created and are creating and updating our current platform, right? Because we
For sure.
really see that that's an issue, right? It's really hard for both the colleges to find the players and then the players to find the opportunities
Mm-hmm.
that they want, right?
Yeah.
That's where my passion lies. I really want to help these students make sure that they can find the right pathway for them, right?
Yeah.
That's going to college with a specific major or a specific sport. Obviously, probably they want to make sure that they play their esport title of choice.
Right.
So on
Right.
and so forth. There's so much that goes into making sure that you're at the right college, because if you're not,
Mm-hmm.
then it kind of makes 4 of those, really important years of your life that are supposed to be really fun, really awesome, develop a lot of skills, and it kind of makes them not so good, right? So
For sure.
I want to make sure that happens for everybody. But moving on to my last question before we run out of time here is, looking at the collegiate space in general, in your experience for, the last time, or for the time you've been at Northwestern, what gaps or holes have you seen from that collegiate esports space that you're like, hey, this is what I really wish the space would grow towards, right? Because collegiate esports is awesome for how much
Yeah.
ground and how much space it's grown into, but it's still very new, and there's still, I think, a little bit here and there that we could either look to traditional sports for a good analogy, or build something new and refreshing to really hope the space kind of solidify itself, because we don't see it on ESPN quite yet.
Yeah.
So take me through, kind of in your experience, what you've seen that you really wish would either change or be grown on, or something you'd be like, hey, if this existed, that would be really awesome.
Yeah. I think, I mentioned earlier, like the decentralized nature of esports, and that's kind of prolific through a lot of avenues, right? So it's not just in recruiting, but even in competition. I mentioned the stuff that we've done. I only mentioned 2 to 3 organizations. Like, there's so many different people running competitions at different levels, and which is great in some ways, but in other ways it becomes a scheduling nightmare trying to get all those things to work together in tandem. So it'd be nice in the long term to see some more structure develop in
Mhm.
the leagues overall and how they're run. And you know traditional athletics has things like the NAIA or the NCAA, right, who runs those things. And you talk to different people, and there's downsides to organizations like that maybe, but more structure across the scene as a whole would be great. Yeah, and even to the relationships I think that we could build between the collegiate and the high school space, seeing those develop over the years, I think would be really cool. Seeing colleges kind of maybe become hubs for, for high school competitions or championships, things like that is always fun to see. I know I've seen a little bit of that develop already here, but even seeing the interaction between those scenes kind of grow. Um, and the mentorship opportunities, right, for potential collegiate students
Mhm.
to reach down into those, budding high school programs and kind of mentor them up and grow them up, not just, on individual player basis, but as their own programs themselves would be cool to see.
Absolutely. Totally agree. That'd all be very awesome to see, to say the least. But we are out of time here for this episode of Spincast. Cole, thank you so much for sitting down with me on Spincast today and taking the time to do so. Real quick, if you will, go ahead, plug yourself, plug your program, tell us where to find you on social media platforms, a website, anything that helps us find out more about you and your program.
For sure, yeah. You can on Twitter at NWC Esports. That's where we are there. We're looking to build an Instagram soon. All my players are telling me we got to get an Instagram, so I'm a little bit behind on the curve, I guess, with that. Otherwise, if you're recruit interested, email cole.prescott@nwciowa.edu. Always happy to field questions. Otherwise, you can look us up on our website as well. I don't have the URL off the top of my head, but Northwestern College, Iowa Esports. You'll find us. We'll show
Yep.
up.
It's a great thing that Google exists, right?
It is.
I think we'd all be a little more lost, a lot of bit more lost if we didn't
Yeah.
have Google in our lives. But once again, thank you for sitting down. To all our viewers and listeners, thanks for sticking around the entire time. Stay healthy and stay happy out there. Unfortunately, COVID is still a thing. I can't wait until it goes away and we can go back to lands, please.
Mm-hmm.
But until then, stay healthy, stay happy, and stay plugged in.